Hello everybody, welcome back. Let's have a look at Bitcoin and Ethereum and basically the Bitcoin dominance chart, just like we did yesterday. So a bit more of a recap, I suppose, a bit more of an overview. And basically it's doing exactly the same thing that it was doing yesterday, the same thing that we expected, which is to play the range between the centre of the Bollinger Band and the 10 exponential on the daily. So that's Bitcoin for you, basically not sure which way it wants to go until it decides to either break above the 10 exponential or down from the centre of the Bollinger Band, being the 20 daily. It's going to be a boring tight range. However, what I should say is that and one thing I always say is that never trade anything on what you expect to happen. Trade it on what's confirmed to happen. So at the moment, nothing is confirmed. It doesn't know if it wants to break out or break down. So in this sense, basically a no trade zone. And even if you wanted to trade it in this zone, it's basically a very small range. Anyway, so it's not really very good to try and trade this thing here anyway. And what you could think about it's almost like a triangle formation. Essentially that's what's going on here. A triangle formation with moving averages, which is basically the situation. So it's going to resolve itself one way or another over the next couple of days, probably even today, to be honest with you. Whichever way it wants to go, it's going to decide to go it. Now, it doesn't mean that actually that direction is going to have continuation. Not at all. In fact, if we look at the signals that we've got here, we've got conversion baseline cross here, a really good signal above the cloud. As far as this trend is concerned, the trend began here and should continue from here, and I expect it probably will, because we've not had any sign to say that trend has come to an end. It looks a little bit dicey, but it's not come to an end, not officially anyway. In fact, it's very much in play. Divergences across the board, more or less, and especially with the conversion baseline. Now, if we turn our eyes over to Ethereum, I was saying again that this one looks like the trend could end, but it's not ended either. So we haven't got the signal to say that this is the end of the trend yet. It's staying static. This blue and this red, they need to cross for me to say fine, that's it for Ethereum for now. We'll wait for another opportunity to get back into it. At the moment, that's not even happened. We're still staying static around this area, right? Which is, again, same as yesterday, almost completely unchanged. Most of this is going to be dictated by Bitcoin's move, and if I was to expect something to happen, this is what I would expect. But again, this is just speculation. This isn't based upon anything. It's just based upon what I would expect to happen. I would expect another retest of either this wick here, 47, or maybe this wick here of 45, and then a rebound, and then up and away. Basically liquidating the last few, or getting the people to just shaking out the last few, scaring them away, and then basically that's it, up and away. The trend is very much in play. I'll say it again. I mean, that's basically the situation. We've got a strong signal here for a continuation of this trend. So whether you get shaken out or not, I'm personally in favour of this continuing all the way up, making a new all-time high. Maybe even as soon as a few days away. That sounds crazy, because what I am saying is that a shakeout first, maybe even down to this support trend line where we had these 1, 2, and then that's it, all the way up to the top here and beyond, 30, 50, 60, 70, who knows? I'm not a moon boy, so I'm not really going to give you any time frames or price predictions, but that's my expectation of how this will play out. Now, it might not do that. We might not get one of those scam wicks, as they're referred to. It might just basically float around here and consolidate for a few more days, maybe in a few more weeks. We just don't know. And to speculate on what is actually going to happen until it happens is basically it's a guessing game. What I am saying, however, is that it's not going to break down. The chance of this breaking down and making extreme lows, very, very, very unlikely. 40,000 max, basically bringing us into the 50 moving average or the 50. EMA, one of those two could pick it up, but it's not going to break down any further than that, in my opinion anyway. I think that's the most unlikely scenario. The most unlikely scenario is for it to break down completely out of this trend formation. So when we're looking at Ethereum, it's basically the same kind of vibe, just a little bit scary, a bit more dicey. If it doesn't rally, at least by what would this have to be, about 10% or so in the next how many days is this going to take? 4 days, then the trend would essentially have been come to an end at that point. So we've got 4 days to pull our socks up with Ethereum. Otherwise, it will go into a period of consolidation that would probably take a couple of weeks or more. Now, one thing I have to always bring our attention to is the Bitcoin dominance chart, which is again 50-50 at the moment. It's neither here nor there. It's riding at the centre of this Bollinger Band, but it's got a bearish death cross here, but we are still above this multi-year support trend line, right? So we bounce from here most of the time, if that's every single time we bounce from there. But closing below there would be excellent for altcoins if that were to happen. Now, with the weakness of Ethereum, it doesn't bode well for the strength of the dominance chart, unfortunately, because Ethereum is pretty much by far the largest market cap of all altcoins. So basically, any move from Ethereum will have a dramatic impact on this chart, which then will correspond to all altcoins, generally speaking. There's always going to be a few outliers, but generally speaking, that's how it's going to work. But the chart technically is bearish, so I would expect this, if not immediately, but over the next few weeks or months, to break down. That doesn't mean that we can't have a sharp rise in Bitcoin dominance, which is kind of what I would expect if my theoretical move were to take place. A dump down, you can imagine what that would do for alts, and then a pump right up would completely smash this and would see a rise in Bitcoin dominance. Now, I've got no idea where that would take us, but it can only go so far before essentially alts will start to catch up with it. Basically, Bitcoin would be the distraction while most of us look for a way to hedge back into alts appropriately, because that's where the bigger moves will be. So again, it's not doom and gloom. It's very, very much a positive outlook I have on all of this. Whether it's altcoins or Bitcoin, there will likely be some more pain, and if there is, it's, you know, I can take some of that pain. That's no problem. I will take some of that pain, and I'll sweep the streets of the red, and I'll pick it all back up again, because the expectation for me is that this was going to continue. This is the last year of the bull cycle, right? We could have an extended bull run. That's no problem, but we're not going to completely collapse into our own shadows anytime soon. That's more likely going to be later on this year, towards the end of the year, maybe into next year. But again, I am not bearish overall. And by saying I'm not bearish doesn't mean that we can't come down another 10, 15, maybe 20%. Let's measure these out. Where would that take us to the 50? That would take us another 17%. So that would be pretty scary for a lot of people, not particularly scary for me. I don't see that at all as a problem. That would just be the shakeout of all shakeouts. Now, the one other thing I would say is that last time we saw this, and this is just another speculative scenario, last time we saw Bitcoin come down to test this center of this Bollinger Band, what we also saw was a rally in alts. All right, we saw Bitcoin make a peak here, and throughout this downtrend, this wobbly downtrend, alts were actually rallying the entire time. So if we have a look, so that is the 1st of January. So let's have a look at 1st of January on here, basically around here. So this is what happened while Bitcoin was consolidating. Alts rallied massively. The Bitcoin dominance goes down, alts increased in value massively. Not really happening this time, and I think the reason that's not happening at this point right now is because the Bitcoin dominance is at a relatively safe support zone, but if we were to break down from here, then it would happen. If we broke down from below this support zone here, the reason that being is that we've not broken down there since this trend line was created. Obviously, we've been a lot lower in the past, but we've not broken below this trend line. And if we were to break down below it, then we would catch a decent move with the Bitcoin dominance, and alts would rally. So that is another scenario that we could be looking at. Last time Bitcoin was in this kind of vibe, in this kind of situation, alts did rally, but they had already started to rally by the time Bitcoin had touched this moving average here. So it's less likely that will happen. However, that's always a possibility. The longer Bitcoin stays within a smaller range, the better. But you know, the range is definitely less volatile. So it would suggest that when you've got a less volatile range, the volatility will soon enter Bitcoin, enter this asset. When volatility is small, it's likely that it will pick up. So again, you know, there's a few scenarios that could take place here. And on the daily chart, on the 4-hourly chart, what we do have here, it looks to me like a further rejection from the center of the Bollinger Band here. But again, this would be the range for us to get bounced back up from. So between 44, maybe 44.5. So breaking down from here, coming down to here, just a little bit lower than the last wick, scaring people away, and then bounce. So that my preferred scenario on this would be that Bitcoin does actually rally after another dump, or just rallies anyway. The Bitcoin chart is more bullish than the other charts that I look at. So that's how I see it. But then at the peak of wherever that would be, which could take us, you know, way into the 60,000s over a short space of time, then that was just merely a distraction. The real money will then come back into the alts after they've obviously been slapped in the face a few times while Bitcoin takes precedence. Anyway, I'll leave it with you there. Hopefully that was useful. I hope you have a nice day. Join my Telegram, it's free, and if you want to take it one step further, I do have a Patreon as well. Thanks for watching. Have a nice day. Take it easy.